So tell us about Startup Studio.
Yes. So the Hack Factory is a startup studio I launched 2 years ago that has kind of three primary missions. First, we refer to it as a growth lab, where if you're an entrepreneur and you have a company and you want to be in a trusted, curated environment amongst peers, advisors, and other entities to grow your company, that we offer that. So you can come in almost similar to a WeWork, but it's all curated and trusted and cheaper because they're not trying to make any money off of it, and have an environment to work in where you're around other people building a company. So that's kind of one element at its most base form. The other element is a startup studio where we are actually ideating companies within the studio and then building them from scratch. Super exciting. We've had multiple that have launched out of the studio to date. Where they started on the whiteboard, and then we built the technology and we built the team, and then we took them to market, and they actually have customers and are doing super cool things. So the startup studio component is super, has a tremendous amount of utility and a lot of fun as well. And then the third piece is wanted to create what we called a brainstorming community. Let's bring together a group of collective entrepreneurs and experts and people involved in the OODA Network to talk about these emergent opportunities and let people connect with each other. Maybe there's two folks that have fractional elements of the same idea, and they meet through us as part of this brainstorming community. And my inspiration for that was really kind of Andy Warhol with the original factory in New York City, which just brought together this eclectic community that resulted in a lot of collaboration. Thus, the name The Hack Factory is somewhat inspired by Andy Warhol's factory.
That's great. So walk me through, like the process of coming of the genesis and kind of like from the evolution of a startup going through the Hack Factory.
Yeah, well, if they're coming in with an idea, we help them kind of realize the path forward to execute the idea. That might be refining their viewpoint of the market. That might be bringing them in front of customers that can provide valuable feedback, finding them mentors, advisors, board of directors, kind of that full component to it. And it really is about taking something that they've already ideated and helping them grow it and find the right fit in the market. When we go through the studio process, we really just imagine what should exist in the market that doesn't. And then we look at the practical limitations to building that. And if the limitations are achievable, if we can overcome them, then we actually invest some time and some resources in actually building the prototype of the company, if it's a services based, or of the product, if it's going to be product based. And then once we have that, then we take that to market and we start working with customers, we start looking for investors, we start building out the founding team. So it really is entrepreneurship from like the core, most basic level, which is wouldn't it be cool if, or I think we could build the following, or when I worked at this company, we had this really big problem and I think I could solve it, right? So those are just a fascinating process. As a result, we've launched, out of the startup studio, BlackWire AI, which has made LLMs like ChatGPT accessible and useful in the domain of cybersecurity. Building in a trust layer, building in a community of experts, but then building a technology platform where I can go in as somebody responsible for cybersecurity at a major company or advising them, ask questions, get guidance, and actually trust what's given back to me, right? One of the problems that you have with large language models is the hallucination issue. I call it the glue in the pizza issue, right? On Reddit somewhere, somebody said you should put glue in your pizza recipe, and as a result, ChatGPT offered that up as a legit recipe, right? So if I'm managing cyber risk, I can't have the equivalent of the glue in my pizza, right? I have to have trusted, authoritative, and sourceable, right? I need to be able to go and say, you told me that NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 said I should execute this control. Show me the actual document and produce a verified, validated copy of the document. So that's super fascinating. We had another one called DevSec, which took AI data science approach to large-scale investigations around fraud, liquidations, et cetera. So if you think about a multi-billion-dollar fraud judgment, where they don't understand the assets that can be seized, they don't understand maybe the complexities of what happened, or a traditional large-scale liquidation, like a company goes out of business because the founders take off with all the money, a court-appointed liquidator comes in, they can't understand what happened to the business, where the money went, especially complex where those businesses touch cyber domain or cryptocurrency, right? Because very ephemeral. And that company took a data science and kind of what I'd call kind of like a hacker thinking centric approach to solving those problems and has been fascinating. That's one where we haven't even had to raise money because the company was profitable almost from day one based on the value that they generated in the market. So we have others that are getting built as well that are solving kind of niche problems that exist. It's a entrepreneur that worked at a big cloud services provider and they saw a particular segment of the market that really called for a new solution, and they come into the factory and we build out the early stages of that solution. So it is fun. It is entrepreneurship at its core level in a super supportive environment. And as an entrepreneur in the DC area for almost 30 years, what I really built was what I wish existed to support me. So I built what I wished from a startup studio perspective was there for me. And so now it's super satisfying to be able to provide that support to the entrepreneurs in the DC area.
So if somebody wants to come work with you at...
Yes, hackfactory.com, send us an email, let's set up a meeting and we can chat. Always entertaining new ideas, and some folks are a fit and some aren't a fit, but if we can refer you to somebody else to have a conversation, obviously we'll do that, but always happy to go through the brainstorming process and at least help you think through your idea.